Bandai Namco Games and From Software present the Havoc Physics Engine.
And NVIDIA overlay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin Edition.
Yay!
I am very happy to be here. It has been a good long while since we did Dark Souls. Real quick, I should just say, this is the one game where there are actually differences between editions. There are major differences between Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin, versus Dark Souls and Dark Souls Prepare to Die Edition.
Yeah. And
So
there's so much debate. Okay, so for reference for everyone watching, I was I'm never going to play Dark Souls, blah, blah, blah. It's just a fucking rage game, too hard, blah, blah, blah kind of guy back when we did Dark Souls 1. I've now played Elden Ring, and I've played through Elden Ring Night Rain, and I'm on very soon going into Demon Souls. So I still don't know too much about the Dark Souls trilogy itself, but I am actually so much more into this kind of game now. And I've heard a lot about Dark Souls 2. As an outsider, I've heard it's the worst one. I've heard it's the best one. What do you think, Crazy Armor?
I will say, to me, it is the weakest of what I like in Dark Souls. However, that is the difference between two 9 out of 10 games and an 8 out of 10 game. So this is a pretty darn good game. Yes, it is for sure the black sheep of the franchise, but it would easily kick the ass of, frankly, any Sonic game. Yes, I went there.
Oh, God damn it. I thought we would have the Sonic jitters out of our system.
Anyways, this opening cutscene is already a perfect... Dark Souls 2 is a heavily misunderstood game. This is... Okay, so we are going to ultimately be in the same area as Dark Souls 1, but we're going to be very far into the future. Dark Souls 1 is a game where you're at the culmination of history screwing over the fate of humanity. And that's kind of where you're at. Everything is known to people. You get to see lies exposed, but it's still there. It's fresh in everybody's minds. But because of the events of Dark Souls 1, no matter what ending you choose, the world's still in a forever loop of either people continue in Age of Dark or they rekindle the flame and bring back an Age of Fire. No matter what, the result's always the same. It's just constantly the flame will fade, the undead curse will happen, and we keep having new lands built. This is a game about forgetting all of that, about disconnecting from the past and repeating the same mistakes because of that. So, to just go over the setting of this game, because the cutscene is going over that for us, and we're not paying attention to it, because the subtitles weren't working. We are in Drangleic. This is a kingdom built by King Vendrick. He is the first king. There is no line of kings before that. Kind of like Wynn and Anor Londo.
Okay.
And yeah, basically, we'll get into more of the details later, but well into his reign, he eventually disappeared, or the undead curse began hitting everybody, and he disappeared. So things are just not going well right now. People are depressed. People are hollowing. Everything's in chaos. There's no ruler around other than the queen. Queen Nashandra. And this is where our character comes in. In Dark Souls 1, we were known as the Chosen Undead. We kind of had a great duty thrown onto us already. And you kind of... everybody who escapes the asylum to ring the 2 bells of awakening kind of become a Chosen Undead, but as the one who actually did it, you really earned that title. In this game, you are simply a bearer of the curse, just like everybody else. You are undead. You have no idea who you are, and you're just wandering towards the land because of some arbitrary reason. Maybe you want the throne. Maybe you want power. Maybe you want riches. For whatever reason, you're just here. And that's kind of the ultimate purpose of this cutscene. It introduces Drangleic and the fact that you're just a nameless nobody who falls through a cool vortex.
So you fall through the vortex and end up at the start of the game, right?
Yep.
Okay.
There's no introduction of bosses. No big grand enemies to appear.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lot. Yeah, there's a lot to read into it about it, and I really like this cutscene.
And I know that, like, Dark Souls 3 kind of brings back the cycle in a lot of ways, or, you know.
So does this. Dark Souls 3 just does it in a different way. We'll get into that when we get into that.
But what I was going to bring up is that people like to say Dark Souls 3 kind of somehow retcons Dark Souls 2. And I don't know, based on what I know, I don't know if I agree with that. What the fuck is going on?
Oh, there's just phantoms.
There's just other players starting at the exact same time as you.
Yep. Anyways, welcome to Big Things Betwixt, our starting area. It's kind of an unknown crevice of the world. No one really goes into here. And this happens to be where our bearer of the curse has landed. We get a nice starting outfit. This is how every player starts. You do not choose your class at the beginning. You just start, the cutscene happens, and you end up here. It's pretty neat.
It feels good to be back, I will say.
Yeah.
Like, if you guys go back and watch the Dark Souls playthrough, it might seem like I was shitting on the game a lot, but that's just because I didn't understand a lick of it. And I kind of regret spending most of that playthrough being such a bitch.
Yeah.
But I'm very, very, very excited to be back for some Dark Souls.
What are your thoughts on the graphical improvements?
It looks really nice. I remember when like the actual in-game graphics loaded. Well, that's ominous. I remember when the actual
You are not equipped to fight that.
I saw the footprints. I was like, "You're really following those?" But yeah, I was kind of like, "Wow, this looks appreciably better than Dark Souls 1." Though I don't know if that was the
better AI, better textures, better physics. Yeah, it's just good all around.
Though I have heard that Dark Souls Remastered, which is what we played for the channel, does kind of make things look shiny compared to the original.
I'd have to look into that.
This is Shrek's house. This is actually just Shrek's house.
These are 3 Firekeeper sisters, as well as their handmaiden. Or maid? I don't know.
They're just fine with this guy walking in.
These are kind of the last remnants of the old world. And we'll see it later, but you probably won't miss it. When we get into some dialogue with other NPCs, they'll mention that the Firekeepers have abandoned their duty and just disappeared from the world. Really severing those ties with a lot of the older history.
Right.
You'll go hollow.
And this is where they are. They're just chilling here.
Yes. You'll become
Why?
one of them.
Who knows?
Hollows
Well, they don't have anything to drink or eat
feast upon
or
my
read,
soul.
so they're
They got a
probably
drink
just
right there.
bored.
They got a drink right there.
Okay. I stand corrected. God damn.
There was a waterfall, to be fair.
They are just sitting around. That's what I'm getting at. They're probably very bored.
What is your name?
I feel like they're just here humoring undead that pass by, and this is how you get to name your character. What could her name be?
Try to recall your name. I bet it's gonna be Crazy Jelly. Oh no, it's Daryl.
Yep, that's right, everybody. It's the return of Daryl.
Oh god, is he fucking playing this again? You
Mix
didn't
of me
record
and
it?
Him.
God
It
damn
is a
it.
mix of me and my brother. This is all me right now.
But you didn't know how to spell it. Pick one, damn it.
You're welcome.
I'm pretty sure that's Darrell.
There's my mouse.
Very scuffed. I love it.
That's the name.
I love it.
And
no, quote unquote. So this is clearly the same character from Dark Souls 1 that we're playing as.
No.
For sharing.
No, it's clear. It must be.
No, that character is hugely powerful and either linked the fire, and became a Lord of Cinder, or became the Dark Leader of Man.
Listen, it doesn't matter how powerful you get. If you go hollow, you go hollow, okay? And he
Well,
took a
once
nap.
you do either of those, in theory, the undead curse ends and you can die. And
Well,
plus,
in
this
theory.
this is not the chosen undead. This is the bearer of the curse. It's different.
Oh, now you get to choose a class. That's strange.
Yeah. So in this, hollowing works a little bit different. Basically, you start off fully hollow, I think. And once you meet the shrine, the firekeepers, they begin to give you back your humanity. You remember your name, and you get to remember once more who you originally were, and gain a bit of yourself back.
Mm-hmm.
So that means it's time to have fun building our character.
Yay! I was hoping you'd
Cool.
make him
Muscular.
nice and thick. Bro, why does he look like fucking Shane Top? You don't know who that is, but someone out there will. The default look looked like fucking Shane Top from Smosh.
Oh.
What is this?
This isn't as bad as Dark Souls 1, but like Dark Souls 1, it's really hard to create a good-looking character.
I like
Not
the
as
mustache.
impossible as it was in Dark Souls 1, but
I don't remember what our character looked like in Dark Souls 1.
that's a good thing.
I feel like you cut past the character creation in that.
No, it's just in the beginning.
Well, that was during the time of the playthrough where I was paying less attention because I was still like, meh, 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 Dark Souls bad. But what are you
Isn't
gonna
he
do?
beautiful? Isn't he beautiful?
He is something. He is something. Bro, he's lacking a frontal lobe. His forehead is so small. It goes from his brow like diagonal upwards to the top of his head. At least we'll have armor on most of the time, I hope.
Anyways, there's the character.
Come here for the same reason.
That is kind of something
Break the curse.
that, like, I don't value the character creator in these games as much because you're gonna probably be wearing stuff on your face so you can't really see.
Oh, this game has a lot more armors that keep your face revealed.
Okay.
Including some fan service armors if you make a female player character, which is
Oh.
hilarious.
Ah. That doesn't feel very soulsy. Fuck this
Yeah,
game.
I don't know if we ever mentioned this. Yeah, I don't know if I brought this up in the previous Dark Souls playthrough or not. This game is not directed by Hidetaka Miyazaki. It has two different directors. And I think one was more primarily involved with the DLC.
You no longer.
Yeah.
Miyazaki was executive producer on this game. Kind of supervision.
He was making Bloodborne.
Yes.
Again.
Because Bloodborne came out like a couple years after this was done.
Yeah, and then Dark Souls 3 happened because and he was involved with that. I'm sure he just kind of felt obligated to finish a trilogy. I don't know if Dark Souls 3 would exist if Dark Souls 2 didn't get made. You know? I don't know if he would have made another Dark Souls. I think he probably would have just kept moving on to new stuff. But
Whatever the reasoning, we got both. And they're both really good games. Now, obviously, this is not directed by Miyazaki, and this does a lot of things differently than Dark Souls 1, as we're going to see. There is one thing that's heavily expanded is weapons, and the uniqueness of weapons, as well as a lot of mechanics that would be brought back for, funny enough, Elden Ring, leading Elden Ring to be known as the sequel to Dark Souls 2. Miyazaki's
heard
version
that.
of Dark Souls 2, if you will.
I have heard that.
One unique thing is you actually hold weapons properly in this game. The other unique thing is you can dual wield every single weapon in this game, including great swords.
Huh. Interesting. That is something
There's
you
also-
can do. I know that because I did it for a while in my playthrough.
There's also something else of this game that drives in a lot of contention for people, and that is the changes to how rolling invincibility works. In Dark Souls 1, I believe you had rolling invincibility from the start of your roll till about like a good midway through it.
Mm-hmm.
A pretty generous amount, all things considered. In this game, they have introduced a new stat called ADP, adaptability. This stat governs two things. I believe it governs your resistance to poison, but more importantly, it governs how many invincibility frames you have on your roll. And I believe every single
God.
character starts off with just having invincibility at the start of your roll. So, at the start of this game, you are really only dodging things if you press the B button right as an attack is about to hit with very little leeway. You have to be a lot more precise with it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people did not understand this because, admittedly, even though stats in this game are fully explained like Dark Souls 1, ADP is not well explained. I don't believe it offers really that many hints as towards what it does. So a lot of people were struggling with the role of this game.
It kind of just feels redundant to me. Like, okay, well, it doesn't really fit the whole, kind of like, because, like, what else does adaptability do? Other than increase frames of invincibility on your dodge roll.
I think resistance to poison as well.
See, but isn't that in other Souls games? Isn't that rolled into another stat?
Probably.
Like dexterity
My
or something?
theory to it is that I think they wanted to increase the amount of stats you needed up in this game. So it'd be harder to hit max level or soft and hard caps for different stat growths. Which, even despite that, this is still admittedly probably the easiest game to reach max stats in.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you learn about the different grinding techniques, which are really, really easy to do.
Right.
And we'll go into more detail later. Probably won't grind too much for this game.
Okay.
And as I'm still in the middle of recording this, I won't say too much about plans. But another plan is hopefully we'll show off different builds in the game.
Okay.
So, a great level of feedback in this game, in the first Dark Souls, was the lack of a tutorial. It does have a tutorial, but it throws all the messages at the start instead of giving you a nice course to work through. It just throws you all the messages and you hope you remember them. Funny enough, Demon Souls actually has a tutorial that actually works pretty well. Dark Souls does not. So, in response, this is a complete tutorial area.
Wow.
You are going to get, unless you fight the troll, you are going to get hints on every single action you can do. At least most of the base actions.
I wanted to say, because we kind of glazed past the troll was fucking hilarious. He was just trying to sit on you, and he's so slow. I don't know if it's going to adversely affect my experience with the Souls games when I finally get to them. But I think like the way the bosses are animated and stuff in Elden Ring, how like smooth it is, and how like there's like a slow wind up and then a really really fast like payoff. It's gonna make my time with these games, I think, easier because
This is the last game with the old system.
okay. Well, at
Obviously,
least
Bloodborne happens and Dark Souls 3 happens. and
yeah, at
change a
least
lot.
with Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2 is what I'm referring to. Because Elden Ring, it's like it has a lot of fast-paced bosses, but I'd say overall it's probably slower paced than say Bloodborne. I haven't played it obviously, but
Bloodborne and Sekiro both faster paced
Yeah.
than Elden Ring.
Yeah, but I think Elden Ring is still appreciably faster than
Dark Souls.
than
yes.
Dark Souls 2 and Demon Souls. So
And so it makes
Yeah.
some of the bosses hard in Dark Souls 3 because they function what should feel like Elden Ring bosses.
yeah. But it's not. I'm not gonna let it deter myself. I think playing these games will help me get better fundamentals with them at the very least.
Yeah. I should also add, this tutorial is completely optional. There's nothing blocking you from just going straight to the end and continuing on.
This is just like fucking.
Also, I don't remember if I showed these off, but the little birds are back.
They're back. I don't remember them.
So these appear in every game. There are these two birds. You can find a nest in one area of each game, and they will ask to give you a smooth and silky stone. Or just smooth and silky. It's your hint to use a smooth and silky stone. They're really cute. I love them, and they'll give you an item back.
Cool.
In this case, a bolt stone. We're never going to use it, but we got it, and they're cute. They can also give you one of the best weapons in the game.
Yeah. But yeah, on the tutorial section, Elden Ring does have that, and it is also optional. So it's kind of I'm now starting to see the sequel to Dark Souls 2 thing that everyone was saying for Elden Ring.
Which is funny because the two directors of Dark Souls 2 did not work on Elden. Well, I think one of them did, but it was still a Miyazaki directed game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of really funny and ended up that way.
Well, that's like the thing. Even if Miyazaki doesn't work on a particular game, he still takes lessons from it and its design. So, like, we just had Night Rain release. Miyazaki was not. He was more of a guiding hand on that. He was not the game director or anything, and it was a new person directing it. And Miyazaki is making his own multiplayer Souls game in the Duskbloods, coming for Switch 2 later on. So I imagine he's going to take some stuff. Like, I imagine that Night Rain is kind of sort of like a beta test in a lot of ways for some of the ideas in Duskbloods. Just to see what works in a multiplayer Souls game and what doesn't. And I'm sure I'm going to see some similar elements there. So it ain't like they're at the same studio, so it's not really surprising to me that they would take things from other people's games,
All right, so what I'm doing right now, I have been led to believe that something will happen if you light all the torches in Things Betwixt. However, spoiler alert, that's not going to be able to happen because the final section of Things Betwixt, which you could access in the original version of the game, it's a small little island or shore area where another troll's at. In this version of the game, it's blocked and you can't go there until you get something later in the game.
Well, fuck. Are you going to light the torches later?
If I remember to.
That's funny.
I still have more tutorial to work through.
Yeah, I'm really iffy on the whole Scholar of the First Sin edition thing.
Well, I haven't even explained what that means.
Yeah.
Okay, so original Dark Souls 2 released, and it got all of its DLC eventually added and downloaded. Like Dark Souls 1, they were going to make a version that would come with all DLC. However, on top of that, the two directors, because this game had a bit of a messy development, they took the time to basically do a refresh of the entire game. Mainly, puzzle placements were changed, as well as enemy placements. I don't believe any of the maps were changed in any particular detail. And a few NPCs were also added, most notably a character known as the Scholar of the First Sin, who will go into more detail later when he comes through.
Mm-hmm.
So there is new story stuff in this game. Overall, this is definitely the definitive version of the game to play. It is the most easily accessible version. It's the only version you'll get on modern consoles. You can buy a PS3 and Xbox 360 copy of Dark Souls 2, and even if it says Scholar of the First Sin Edition, it's still the original game. It's not the redone version. However, on PC, you can buy both the original and Scholar. And if you buy the original then Scholar, you actually get a discount on Scholar. So that's probably the way to do it. But I was stupid and just bought Scholar. So I didn't get that.
I did end up buying the original Dark Souls 2 on Steam, but I have the PS4 Dark Souls Trilogy, and that's probably how I'm going to play the games, and I believe that has the Scholar of the First Sin edition.
Yes, it will be Scholar. It will be Scholar.
Okay.
It'll be this version.
See, I'm just like, you know me, I'm very, I'm a stickler about, like,
This is what blocks you.
what a bitch game. But you know that I am a stickler about, like, the original design intention of certain games. And I feel like changing the, like, enemy layouts in a Souls game is a pretty substantial thing.
Think of this as the director's cut, where they could finish their vision without cut time. This is the exit, by the way.
Oh my god, all the blood pools. Something. Dude, every time I come up in Elden Ring, I come up to a room and it's just full of these blood pools. I'm just like, oh god, what is about to happen? That's a very good
question.
This just recently happened to me in Elden Ring. I don't want to spoil too much of Elden Ring. Oh my god. I don't want to spoil too much of Elden Ring.
We were barely left in the part if you want to hold that for the end. Alright, what could be on the other side?
Okay. A boss. No.
Nope.
How did all those people
the hub.
fucking die?
So, this is a really funny joke that Dark Souls 2 players like to do. They lead enemies all the way to that area and let the enemies kill them. They did this so many times to make sure there were permanent bloodstains there to scare new players before entering Majula.
Awesome. That's awesome. I feel like that's got to be like tradition. Yeah, if you play this game, you have to do it.
Yeah, it is. It is so funny. Me and my brother had a great time laughing at that when we were looking through for this.
Yeah.
And what were you saying about Elden Ring?
Oh yeah. It basically just had like there's an area that I hadn't explored yet because I just like recently reopened my Elden Ring save file and I went to go explore some more. I found this area like kind of northwestish, that like I hadn't got the map for yet, so I was just like exploring the area. And I enter the area and it's just full of blood pools everywhere. And I was like, what the fuck happens here? I was expecting a boss. No, there's like these fucking Iron Maiden-esque enemies in the game. And there's like 5 of them in this area. And they're fucking horrible to fight. And I just see them like moving around in the distance. And I'm like, oh, that's what it is. Oh, shit.
I'm in danger now.
Yeah. I wasn't in danger, though, because this particular save of Elden Ring, I'm already at the final boss. I just haven't explored absolutely every nook and cranny of the world. So I was just like, I can't beat the final boss. I'm going to go explore around and just see if there's other stuff to do. So, yeah.